I have to update my post.
Now I have that song started.
Perfect. Oh, that one's
Alright.
good, Banny. Thank you.
Alright, Michael, I'm just gonna
You gonna head out?
clear it out now.
Alright, we'll see you later, dude. It was nice talking with you.
Clear out the where I'm playing thing before the meeting. I don't
Oh,
want
what server are you going to?
Yeah, I'm playing with you guys. So.
Dun dun
But
dun!
Sword.
No, Viral's gonna play with us.
Around as a
He's coming to the dark side of Alliance.
Why don't we meet up, Viral?
Have coffee, pick apples, you know.
Yeah, I want my apple pie if I go Alliance. I'm gonna expect my apple pie a week, pro.
I was told there'd be
Boy.
pie.
I'd ask
Do you have
for
water?
more. Just
So when GSO's back, you can let him know that he gets 4.
He gets 4 what? Oh.
Word
got it.
DPS.
Got it. Yeah, 4 slots.
Yeah.
I can text him now, maybe?
Oh, it's whenever he gets back.
Okay.
it's almost here.
Yeah.
It's almost here, Michael. Can you feel it?
Everyone, I hope they're all really excited.
Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
Can you feel it?
Ew.
So with that
I wanna
post,
feel
are
crabs.
we switching to a new realm now?
God, no.
Yeah, we're gonna switch to one of the other high or full servers that we can choose between.
As long as it's
I was
Herald, we'll
hoping
be
an
good.
RP, but
Surprise twist, we're going to Asmongold server.
I thought we were gonna go to the new Matrix 4 game.
Hell yeah.
They're not making Mission 4 game pro, they're making a movie.
Oh.
Is it really 4 days, 20 hours?
Yes.
It is actually 4 days, 20 hours, 420
Baller.
away from classic, boys and girls. Everyone spark it up if you got it.
On hump day, holy
I
shit.
don't do those drugs, Michael. Jesus.
Yeah, Malar, we all know you're not around. Cause you're a square.
It's not a square on the spreadsheet.
Where's Abide?
That's how these meetings go, sir. Your friend Abide doesn't make it to them.
Then he shows up drunk.
Where's Pathetic then?
He comes
He's on
in
the list.
halfway through the meeting, goes
What's
A
going on?
B I D E, and then.
Hello, are you looking ahead?
Disappears.
But I also don't see Jay Cuddy either. Oh, there he is. He's here.
He's here.
It's Bulba.
Bulba in the front. I know.
Oh, shit. Jay Cuddy?
Yeah, I like Jay Cuddy better, but that's okay.
Abide's crying in a corner currently.
I believe that. Did he make another
Average.
PUBG
He
montage?
has not smoked weed in 35 days. He's going through a breakdown.
When's his test?
He's taken like 4 of them. He keeps pissing dirty.
I told him
He's
I
gonna
had
buy
a
one of those
friend.
fake
You know,
suits.
see, does he understand how contact works when it comes to how like trace it needs to be positive on those things? Like,
I don't know.
like just being in the same room with someone smoking it could be enough.
No, he's definitely not around that. He's just like Abide's like 6'8" or 6'9" or something.
Oh, it's gonna take a while to get out of
Yeah,
the
he's
system.
just a big ass motherfucking dude.
I told him my friend
He's been
took 5
depressed.
months.
How big is he? 6'8" or
to get
6'9"?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
fucking cool as shit.
Is he just lanky or is he a big guy too?
No, he's a stocky ass motherfucker.
Hmm.
I posted pictures on the forums, Mike.
In fact, his birthday, he posted the video of the whole day.
I asked my wife how big my brother-in-law is, and she's like, "Oh, he's only 6'4". I'm like, okay.
I guess I'm tiny.
Yeah, Gets is like 4'7".
Yeah.
So you're playing a dwarf?
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 6'4", 270.
Oh my god.
That's fucking huge.
Yeah, so he is. He's a like I'm 6 foot and like 100 and I don't know.
60.
That's it.
160.
Oh, you're
something.
100 pounds.
100
Seen the
pounds,
picture.
Soaking wet.
110 wet.
Yeah, I
Tiny
look like
motherfucker.
that Ethiopian kid in South
Strong
Park.
winds will blow you away.
Do.
But
Those days are
yeah, he's huge.
Okay, now that we talked about people being huge, we're gonna start the guild meeting.
Huge. Oh, good. We have 33 here. We can start.
Oh.
Speaking of
Oh,
huge,
yeah.
let's talk
Hold on.
about
Let me go
those
down the
server
other channel here and
numbers.
make them all upset.
first guild meeting. Hell yeah.
It's
First
about fucking
guild,
time, Violet.
last guild meeting.
Are they all down there playing PUBG right now?
Probably.
So this is the most important meeting, I might add.
Yo.
So yeah, we've had
Fucking viral, yo.
That's why I'm here.
since BlizzCon 2016,
Let's
2017.
hold up a second before we get some more people hopping in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That should be all of them.
Yeah, I was just saying, since BlizzCon, not last year, but before that, is when they actually announced, hey, we're doing vanilla. And that's when we started doing these monthly or bi-weekly or weekly guilds preparation.
Sorry, what page are we on?
The
This is
Tricks.
his monologuing before.
Oh, the
we
Matrix
actually
did
get
make
in
it?
there.
It's the intro.
this is
intro
the
monologue.
Jesus, how much did you smoke?
Not enough.
okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome. Okay. On to page 2. So there's a couple things we'll go over. Typically, we talk about updates for Blizzard. Want to look at some professions, our plans for that first week, and I have an update roster available. We have our
Bro, you
Guild-
already dropped Alchemy or?
yeah, the guild bank donations tracking, all that stuff is set up, ready to go. We have a initial council plan, so you can see like our thoughts behind it. I'm gonna go over the loop today, mainly focused on AK4, which means Nax will come in the future actually, but AK40 is kind of deal since kind of sides with the rest. And today is not Monday.
Has it already started?
Yeah. I'm live streaming right now, Jack, so you are live. Okay, moving on to slide 3. So 4 days, 20 hours till launch. If you didn't know this by now, it's on Monday for us, all of NA, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. And I think most of us would be around and on our character screen ready to world second bins.
That's going to be important with the new announcement that was just made like 20 minutes before the guild meeting.
What is Free Butt Plug Day?
You missed it, man. Clearly.
Damn it.
It was on the 16th. If you didn't make that week's meeting, you missed free butt plug day.
Yeah,
What?
I got a nice
So
one
I think
in the
we
mail. It was
sold that
awesome.
too.
We did sell out. We did sell out.
Alright, well,
I just reused mine from
That
last
sucks.
year.
Okay.
Okay,
Continue on, Pro.
let's go on to the next slide. Do you want to do this, Mike?
What, slide 3?
Yeah.
The guild meeting schedule?
4?
Slide 4, Michael. We're on slide 4. Keep up, buddy.
Slide 4? Wait, when we hit the countdown for play on this?
You're the worst.
Are we watching this together?
I don't know. You really wanted to.
I didn't want to watch this!
Oh.
is that
I
like
wanted to watch the announcement video.
Oh. What is that?
Oh my. It's okay, don't worry.
The BlizzCon.
Okay.
Yeah, the BlizzCon. Thank you, Zeal.
Wait, oh, what announcement was that?
The cooking.
Oh. Oh. You mean one where he's like,
Jeez.
you think you
Yeah,
did.
Moving on
Pistachio.
to slide 5, guys. We're
So,
moving on to
yeah, I don't
slide
want to watch this
5.
long video with everyone. Well, we can watch it if everyone wants to, but
No, let's link the good one.
we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Q&A with Blizzard. This bothered me a little bit, but we'll let Blizzard go, or let Pro go over it.
Yeah, Blizzard go over slide 5. There's a lot of good information that wasn't like how many phases are there this time. There's some stuff.
That's a great question.
A couple things to note. They do have a contingency base of realms being overpopulated, which we're not expecting. We haven't had any issues in the last couple of weeks. Well,
Is that a joke?
yeah, it's a joke. They are doing. They will be allow more than likely like free character transfers. Who knows how long that's available. They aren't doing any other paid services, so there's no character or character models or character.
For now.
At least for now, yeah. At this time, so probably next week.
Which is a big thing.
After phase 6, they are going to basically bring it based on what all feel like. So if we're like,
Yeah, if they add
kind of,
some black dwarves, that'll be me.
yeah, black iron dwarf.
The one thing I got from that when they said they're gonna wing it is it's more of a we'll do TBC if people want it, or we won't do anything. It didn't sound like it was TBC or continuing in classic WoW feel with new content. I don't think they're even playing with that option.
Right. So if they're not, I'm pretty sure as long as classic is somewhat successful, it's very, very popular as well.
You can assume they already said they've laid the framework so that it would be easy for them to transition to Burning Crusade.
Right. That Tuesday, the first Tuesday, so you're 24 hours in or whatever, or 18 hours in, there will not be maintenance. So there should be downtime, so we should just be able to push through that first week entirely. To so if you have a family or
TeamSpeak, sorry.
if you have any family or wives or husbands or anything, make sure you take them out this week and call them good.
Yeah.
Fact.
Covered this week.
It's phase 2 plans. So they did mention they're very committed to getting that player before phase 2 launches or as midday or whatever. So they're really trying to push to really want healthy realm populations, and they're really just this big question what does it look like in 3 months? And as is everyone, people probably stick around, but some people, who knows? But
what do they think we're gonna have? The government molten core.
With the new announcement that they just made, I don't know if you guys saw the announcement on TeamSpeak that Michael linked, but as of right now, any realm over medium population, so that includes high and full realms, will have a queue. Right now, there are 3 realms that are looking at exceeding the maximum player in queue system, which means that they will get booted out immediately and have to keep attempting to get in queue.
To sit in a 10,000 player queue.
10,000 player queue. Right now, we're at high. So if you want to play on day 1, I suggest you be home early and sitting on the character screen.
So here's a little thing that people need to know though. So one, if you sit on the character selection screen, you're going to get disconnected from the game. You need to sit on the realm selection screen. You can sit on realm selection screen indefinitely. I tried it last night just to confirm, and I had it on all night long, and it will never kick you out. But if you go into the character selection screen, it will boot you out, and it'll boot you right out. It won't just boot you to the realm selection.
Was that a 10-minute timer?
That doesn't
AMA
change
that
anything,
actually
though, does it?
said that they wanted you to be able to sit on the character select screen and wait for the interworld button to light up. It's on the AMA, at least in the Blizzard forum. I read it last night.
Yeah, but that's.
I get that. I'm just saying.
You'll
I
be.
know you will, if they have to do any update, you're going to get kicked out of that. But they
Or
said
if you sit on the screen for too long.
You sit on for too long. So if you sit on it for 5, I wouldn't even do 5 minutes straight.
What if you sit there and just keep selecting back and forth so that you don't get kicked off or inactivity?
That's what.
I'm not sure if it's inactivity.
You
or
don't
if
do that
it's-
right now? I'm doing that right now.
I think if you
I
keep
don't know,
moving
I'm
around, it'll still
messed
kick
up in
you
the head.
out after a while. Because it did it to us as well on our name reservation day when you sat there for
Does
too
it
long.
save
eventually
your
kicked you.
login by IP? So if you have multiple accounts, you can try to get them both in so that once one gets in, you can switch to the other one, same IP, and already circumvent the queue, or what?
So,
No idea.
like Michael Fox, you said you're going to sit on the realm selection screen?
Well, I'm just saying, if you wanted to get on and you wanted to have your character already logged in to see if you can skip over that queue, because I don't know what points they're going to be queuing at. So if you want to for sure.
When I was trying to make my characters was when I actually selected the realm. So if you're sitting at the realm selection screen, you're still gonna get a queue as soon as you click there.
Not saying to sit there. I'm just saying if you want to stay already logged in and avoid any sort of getting kicked out of anything. So if they do any sort of drop, if they
like
drop
connection.
anything, connection, anything, they're not going to remove you if you're sitting there. But if you're sitting on the character selection screen, anything happens, you're getting booted all the way out.
We could test that, like
So
see
it's a
if
safer spot
I
to
don't know if you've
sit.
seen what I posted on Discord.
we could see if we can move our mouse.
Prevented getting kicked from queue with just
So
a
if it's
background
30
scan
minutes,
through
though,
your
that's
character
safe to try
and you
and
can sit
log
there
in.
for hours or days.
I'll start it right now, and we can set it.
Yeah, I would test someone like just moving your mouse around character. It's just staying on character screen. See if it see.
Alright, I'm in.
All right, so this is kind of the next one is the big one that changed, or maybe just never got clarified. Phase 1, basically from the looks of it, if any item on any loot table was in before patch 1.9, more than likely that be dropping day 1. So that means pretty much all MC loot should mount, which kind of shocked a few days ago with that. Now that doesn't really affect dungeons for us per se, but there's things like if the reputation was out, it's going to be out day 1. If it was out like patch 7, patch 8, yeah, Timber Maw is a great example. That's usually added about halfway through. It's going to be out day 1, so we're going to get Warehound belts and things like that. Like so, basically, day 1 is going to have a lot more to do if we want to get everything done.
By day 1, he means like phase 1.
No, I want day 1.
Day
I know you guys said that we couldn't log in, but I want that shit.
But the only thing that at least it doesn't affect is it doesn't change in the priors that we set up. Everything is fine in that sense. It was already designed for all of that to happen anyways. It just kind of speeds up how much loot's going to be there, and yes, that's a positive. It's great. There's nothing really wrong with that. It does lose the incentive to want to go back to the instance later when they added the pieces, but I do understand for some classes you're getting like 1 to no upgrades, maybe 1 for the whole time. That's that's not fun either. So I get it. That's not the horrible thing. Their answer to layering was a little weird with them just kind of saying that they can fluctuate sizes and stuff. But again, it's not going to affect our servers much. I think that's more of the servers that are all full right now and exceeding. They're going to really see some weird stuff when it comes to their player base and their economy and what happens if it's phase 2. I think our server, though, all in all, it looks like it's going pretty good. It'll probably turn out to be pretty good for us, and shouldn't worry too much. So anybody that was in Discord and saw me getting mad, I'm less mad about it now. But yes, we have a lot more to do now in phase 1 than we definitely had before. A lot of arcane crystals, so people doing alchemy.
Get to that next.
Yeah, we'll get there next.
Couple of the last things, only hearthing at 0.5%, so once you engage it, you're locked to that instance. Dungeon caps, for whatever reason, I guess it was just a thing. Meridon and prior dungeons all had a 10-player cap, not a 5-player cap. And then everything past Meridon had a 5-player cap except for Blackrock Spire, which had, in 1.12, they did change from 15 down to 10. So that will be a 10-player cap for LBRS and BRS. Finally, the World Quest hubs, things like Thorium Point and Jinto will be available. So there's a couple, especially Portside Jinto, where it has a couple pretty solid items from their quests.
Yeah, that rune of the guard captain is pretty sexy.
On to next slide, which is slide 6, professions. So last week we talked a little bit about this. Basically, for the sake of the whole guild, we're gonna try to certain professions streamlined as quick as possible. Tailoring is a big one. Bags, so we are gonna funnel cloth and stuff to sticks. However, he might, if all of us funnel to him, he might be like have way too much sort of thing. So we might end up adding like a few to this list. That specific.
He also said that if he has overfill, he'll be making greens for me to help get everybody their wands for enchanting.
Yeah, that's what the one thing I wanted to stress about all of the professions. Like anybody that are doing like the extra skinning, extra mining, anybody that's got anything that they can send it to the blacksmith, and then whenever the blacksmiths make greens when they're trying to level up, send that to the enchanter to disenchant. Same with the tailor, as you're getting all the green or all the cloth sent to you, turn it into green, send it to the enchanter for disenchants, and just everyone kind of utilize as much of the mats that we can donate across as many of the professions as possible. And like no one here is supposed to be trying to make money off of any of this. Like this is what?
You want to work together like a guild?
It's insane. It's insane. I know. Same with like the leather worker. Especially now, we're gonna definitely need one earlier than we were kind of expecting, because now they need to make the belts and everything. Anybody that's getting skinning going up early, please, whoever we decide is going to be the leather working that's going tribal as already specified, let's start feeding that person. And again, as you're leveling up, as you get the greens, send those off to the enchanter so that they can disenchant. And the enchanter, like, obviously they can't go all over the world enchanting people stuff, but if they can meet up with you, obviously they'll use the mats to enchant you. Again, they're not there to make money. No one here is there to make money off of this stuff. It's meant to help the guild as much as you can. Everything will just get donated back. Anything that gets donated into people, like, they're not gonna go and pad their piggy bank with it.
Is there anyone that was thinking about keeping it?
Just on my alt.
I'm gonna do leather working.
Who's this?
This is the new recruit, Berserk, Pharaoh Druid.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
But yeah,
also
so
Chad, like, no.
We
rogue like needed or something.
I don't think rogues would go leather working.
No, that's right.
In the past, Terry's done it for us, but
yeah.
We're talking in officer Chad. Right?
Yeah.
I said I'll do it on my alt if you want, but the highest it'll get is 35. But
yeah,
it won't get the dark iron rep that we need at 35.
Okay, so you want it up there. Yeah.
then we don't include, so it has to tune to. That's like, for a lot of that, it's just we got all these skin kid biasing, utilizing it early to send it change your kill.
I might do alchemy or leatherworking, but I don't know how fast I'm gonna be leveling.
Right.
What class are you playing, Phil?
Druid.
But anyhow,
you don't want to play like a warrior or like a... Never mind.
Please, shush.
But yeah, the point of all this is, if we work together, like, things be a lot easier to funnel. Done super. And yeah, let's just move on. So we have our final roster. I believe I added all the recruits.
Hold on, before we jump past that, we didn't get to mention one thing. So we do need a lot of alchemists. Was this the point I got to mention this at?
Yeah.
Okay, we need a lot of alchemists because we now need a lot of Arcanite bars.
I'll have 6.
If you're planning to level alts to 35, and you need a profession,
you'll have 6, Val?
all of his alts are gonna have it. I'll have at least 3.
My main's gonna have alchemy.
Okay, so But okay, so but basically, yeah, as many people that are going alchemy as possible, please do not sell your transmutes. I know like, a lot of these things, like we're going to be doing a lot of things that are going to be very guild oriented things. We're going to try and benefit our guild as best as possible and build our guild up. Please do not sell your transmutes. Like yes, it's a good source of cheap, quick little gold, but it's just a quick little amount of gold versus something now that we have to source out to somebody else. I'd rather either if we have to sub you something, we'll figure something out. But ideally, I'd like you just people that have it just to help the guild out early on. If we can get it early on, then it's done. And then after that point, you're free to do whatever you want with your professions and stuff like that. But early on, like we will feed you the mats. You just need to save the transmutes. But as many people doing alchemy as possible because like tanks alone, force reactive disc, we were counting it up just to handle the tanks for annihilators, force reactive disc, nightfalls, things like that. We're sitting around 168 bars, which are things that obviously we're not going to have that obtained immediately, but if we can get some of these things knocked out early on, an early nightfall, an early annihilator, things like that, a force reactive disc, and that's also like the Lionheart helms as well that goes into things like that, and then there's other things as well. But that's just that alone. So yeah, lots of alchemies.
Don't count on Pro though. He'll drop that shit in a heartbeat.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Arcanite transmute, is it level 250 or is it 270?
Yeah, it's like the best way to level it, I think, right?
Let me double check.
Either way, it's not like all the way to 300. So I suspect herb prices are going to be pretty significantly lower than we've seen past.
Yeah.
You don't think $100 Black Lotus or 100 gold Black Lotus?
Yeah, it's 275.
They might be expensive.
When it goes down to one layer, I can see Black Lotus prices going up higher, but while there's multiple layers, provided they're not really, if they're having really like 2 layers worth of Black Lotuses, then
Wasn't it like 70 gold for the play boom or something like that?
But it goes, I guess, it goes both ways. If there's double the Lotus, double the population, double the usage, it kind of works itself out.
But for like low level herbs, though, like everyone's going to be doing. There's going to be so much supply and not a huge amount.
And we've played on 10k servers that never had anything like that. So, and like the populate, like the prices that how high they got there.
I suspect you could level alchemy on an ultra cheap.
But if you read the post more, it really does specify like in the early zones it work like the dynamic spawns kick in, but late as the zones progress later on into endgame, the dynamic spawns become a lot less noticeable, and people are gonna start fighting over things. I believe it. I understand. So we basically, so things like Black Lotus, rich thorium veins, I can't see them being affected the same way like a copper mine would be.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It does make sense. It actually, the way they're doing their dynamic respawns are a lot nicer than other private servers where it was kind of just blanketed across the game. That will help a lot when it comes to like double sword and farming things that are worth money, won't devalue things.
Okay, any questions, sir? Okay, slide 7, our current roster. There's a couple things that added to this. This is on our toxic Fairbanks Google sheet that we're using. That server.
Is that like the royal
You need to add Viral back to this final roster.
Just like 2 months ago.
That's why I just said you're gonna have to add back.
Well, he's
Viral
there.
to this
He's
final roster.
He's in red. The people that weren't sure of are in red still.
What does the blue square mean? Oh, casual. Gotcha.
Yeah. Or again, unsure.
And I don't know what happened, but somehow we went from having a ton of mages and no locks to having a ton of locks and no mages. Well, not no mages, but...
Michael, you can add me.
Don't you still have me, Val, and Trigger?
Add Zeal onto there.
Where's Derp?
Casual.
Alright.
Oh man.
work stuff.
Is this editable? Is this
There's a couple.
Just me, Val, and Trigger are super consistent, so I mean, I think we'll still be good.
What's up, Phil?
I know Mono from ASP is going to be playing, but he still hasn't filled out the registration thing. Because he's a loser. But I'm not sure what he's playing now.
He's playing Rogue.
He won't, yeah. He's Rogue?
Shadow, what are you gonna play?
Shadow Priest.
Shadow's a Shadow Priest.
Okay.
He's on there, Shadow is.
Okay.
Laura, we're gonna need you to roll, man.
Can somebody post the link to the slide thing? Cause I can't find it.
Lost all over
Thank
them.
you.
Too many hunters and mages.
It looks pretty good actually across for most things.
They're, I don't know if they're here, Bella, or I meant Square on.
What? What about me?
You're a square.
I'm not
am a
casual
square.
and share.
What'd you say about me?
What did you call me?
Yeah. So another thing that we wanted. So while we're level grind and stuff, there's certain drops and certain things that really should be saving, really should be doing if you can. Like prime example, you see level 30, 35. If you're there and you have warriors that are still level below 30, it will go a long way for you to get a couple of the items that for the decks.
He's referring
So
to
the
the
charms and
there,
stuff.
for those who don't know. There's 3 different elementals there. You kill them.
And other things like doing ZF quest run. That's such a good like quick level. You get that. We'll obviously need certain things like rogues and warriors and hunters to get Thrashblade, bow. They're pre business slot till we LBRS rogues. Only makes sense. Devil Sword, things like that.
Holy shit, Pop's playing Pop Tomo? That's awesome.
Yeah, I emailed weeks ago. Got his response.
Yeah, and the list there of items that we're gonna need, it'll expand as we need them. We'll list them. We'll let people know as we're leveling up, things to hold on to.
Wait, where's acidic and jelly bean on this list? Oh wait.
Got him. Lar.
Who else was not on this list?
Zeal.
Mano. Plans on playing, but it's being a lazy butt.
Yeah.
Gonna lose the raid spot if he doesn't show up, man. Just saying. Gonna end up in the weekend raid.
Saitama originally wanted to go Mage, but like 2 months ago, we were heavy on his Warlocks, and I think he needs to go back and
It's fine. Kind of evened it out a little bit.
Ooh, I like the next. Oh, I jumped ahead. Don't wait.
Okay. So anyhow, obviously try to make final decisions, but there you can see these like transparency is every I know of that have. All right. Next page, we got a couple links there. I would definitely keep them or bookmark them. If you've never raided with us before or done anything, we track everything, all the bank stuff, all the donations.
Well, when
all
you
your...
say we, is that like the royal we, or is that like you?
It's like me and my dog.
Is that you and Rusty?
Me and Rusty.
Yep.
Fuck, you gotta get that guy water in like 8 years.
Yeah.
Fact.
So everything that you give, track, looked at.
In this, because Fade Leaf is one of the things on here, it's used for shadow protection potions, which, you know, or Grave Moss is on here. Aniva reminded me that it's RFD? RFK? Which one?
RFD, I thought. It's the formal.
Yeah, RFD has easy pickings when it comes to Grave Moss. Just so that people are aware, can reset the instance and have them respawn. Have to wait for world spawns.
This link you have on the slide, it just links back to the roster, I think?
That's the whole kit and caboodle if you look at
There's a whole bunch of tabs on the bottom. So that's where track it. But also I have this also linked to our actual website, so it'll just if you want to use it, it's the same information. So yeah, as you see items in the game, like don't just assume, don't enter it. Like,
if you don't know, ask.
just a quick asking you, should I do any of this? More than likely, a ton of us will be like yes or no.
12 best?
12 best in slot?
Best in slot?
Okay, on to the big news. So the next page has a ton of words, and there's a lot going on here. There's a lot, you know, if you come from other guilds, also it might be like, oh, it's very simple. It's just like, how much do we like this person? Or, you know, basically take out all of the politics and all of the silliness, and we make correct decisions. So we're putting a ton of effort into it. This will get updated and coming as well. Make sure that we actually get everything ironed out and transparent as possible. But we have a couple criteria and things that we have right off the get-go. Kind of think. I don't know if you want to share your thoughts, Mike.
I think they're right there, right? Or do you want me to expand?
Just give a quick general.
That's funny, bro.
Well,
Michael and Quick in the same sentence.
quick general Mike answer. Got it. All right.
Just read it for us, Mike.
Well, I don't have to read it, but like the stuff that you guys can see here, like obviously don't take these like as Mike's thoughts and Pro's thoughts as in it's like we're battling out between. We're trying to take everything into consideration here, like, and all this kind of will be added to it. Like I really like his idea of adding a piece value, because that's easy to go along with my idea of how to distinguish whether your last upgrade was a meaningful upgrade or not, and that'll be easy to tell if it has a stat value to it. Basically, we can, and then the class leaders can value, you know, the certain pieces of their class and how much they value each piece, things that we can add up over time. But basically, the way I look at things is the raid, whatever benefits the raid, not so much for the loot, but whatever benefits the raid the most is probably how you're going to end up getting the loot the most. So if you showed up on time for raid, you were ready for raid, you were, you know, proper enchants, proper consumes, whatever you needed to have, that comes first to me. Then like the guild effort, making sure you showed up to the raid nights, that benefited getting extra mats for the raid and helped the guild again. You know, that again shows more important to me. It shows the effort for the long term. It shows that you want to invest. Now, it might not actually be that way. You might just be doing it for a short-term thing, but it'll benefit us if that's what happens. But in the end, we look at it as more in the positive sense that It's because you want to invest long term, and you know that this is going to benefit you later on when these consumables, these mats, and these things we farmed will be given to you when we're doing knacks and doing things like that, when we're blowing through more consumables and we have too much raids to be farming. So basically, I'm putting that ahead of everything because that's the pieces that are going to go to people that are going to be here the longest. So if you're putting in a lot of guild effort and you're ready for the raid, it's probably because you want to be here. And if the raid's successful, there's really no reason to not be here. And if the loot is fair, it just all kind of goes that way. And then next, obviously this is not like a next as in, oh, you had criteria 1 and 2 perfect, we'll just ignore criteria 3. Like it's kind of like an everything type thing, and then if everyone meets all these simple criteria for me, it would just kind of come down to a roll type scenario, because again, it's only fair at that point. There's no reason that this A person should be just like favoritismally given the item or arbitrarily just said, okay, this guy gets it because we like this guy, at that point. So recent upgrades, I don't value, I guess, specific, like class specific items as high. Like if you were to have just received a class specific item that wasn't that meaningful based off of Pro's little number system, then we wouldn't really hold that against you receiving a loot council item. Now your class leader may hold that against you for getting another class specific item. That's totally up to them. But when it comes to a loot council piece, just because you received a minor upgrade in the raid doesn't mean, oh, okay, now fuck, I can't get that big upgrade that drops, I'm screwed because I took shitty bracers. Like, that's not going to be held against you. But if you got like your best in slot class piece, like a mana igniting cord or something like that, that would be kept into consideration. We would be like, that is a big upgrade, and you probably shouldn't receive a loot council piece, but that'll be up to the discretion of your class leader if they're really like, no, this guy is, for whatever reason, if your class agrees. Go ahead.
A good example, Sorceress Dagger in Molten Core, since that's gonna drop. It's only like a 6 spell power upgrade from the Prebis, so if you win that, it's not really gonna go against you. Might not get a Mage Blade if it drops the same run, but...
Sure, exactly. Now, if you were to receive your any sort of loot council piece recently, so if we were loot counseling, for instance, like Brutality Blade, and then a Vishkag drop, and you just won that Brutality Blade, don't think you're in the running for the Vishkag. But at the same time, don't be like, okay, I just got my top end piece, I now can slack. I don't need to show up to the Thursday farm night or the Monday farm night because I'm not even eligible for loot, because that's going to be held against you. So when you are no longer being held against you for criteria 3, which is your recent upgrade, you'll now be held against for the more important things, which is 1 and 2. Are you raid ready, and did you put in the guild effort? So if you're not putting in the guild effort and you're not raid ready, and the raid ready will change as obviously, because pre-raid best obviously is not going to be a requirement when we're doing AQ40. But criteria 1 will get changed as things become less things of, like, there's no way that no one cannot meet this kind of thing. But it is a way for early on to distinguish who should get early upgrades for the first couple weeks. And then, yeah, so that was kind of my idea. And then criteria 4, which is still held against, but again, the other things are more important to me, but not necessarily a trump in any way. Like, all these things are going to be weighted the same to me, but to me the other things are more important. But raid 4 is your raid performance, meaning like if you're a top end player, if you're really putting in all the effort, you're doing everything you perfectly, kind of thing like that. Obviously we're not going to ignore that kind of stuff, and if you're not performing well, that's really where it's going to come in. If you're not doing good DPS, your heals are either lacking or you're not healing your proper target. You're trying to snipe heals, you're doing improper healing, like high healing numbers is not good healing. DPS is a little bit more straightforward, but padding's going to be looked at. Mages decursing when they're supposed to be decursing, like little things like that, but big things like that in the same sense. That's going to be held against you. And then raid attitude. Kind of self-explanatory, but as I have it written here...
regularly decurse.
As I have it...
Now, come on.
But yeah, as it's here in the raid attitude, this is the thing everyone's waiting for. This is the real deal. This is classic.
Like, wow, this isn't a private server. It's not going to just disappear in a year. These are people's characters, and people want to have fun. So if any person basically puts themselves ahead of the raid and starts going off, whether it be about them losing their world buffs in the raid or anything, like, they bring in their personal problems. If it's a one-time, one-off thing, it just happens. That shit goes down. But if it becomes a problem, you will be removed. There's like no one's gonna put up with it. There's no reason anyone has to put up with it. So you'll just be removed.
Can I make a comment?
Of course.
I see Criteria 4 as being the most important, and I see Criteria 1 fitting into Criteria 4. You could almost combine them.
Of course, that's why I said originally, though, all criteria held, they are all weighted the exact same. I'm just saying the way I wrote it out, this is in my mind, how I deem things to be more important to me. It's really important that they're raid ready. It's really important that they're putting the guild effort in first. But not one of these things can trump another one. Like no one, like just because you did 1, 2, and 3, but you didn't do 4, okay, you get the piece. No, these are just the things that we're going to look at, and if you met all 4 of the criteria, but it's impossible to, like, for raid performance, like, how do I judge raid performance on Lucy on our first raid week? Like, I can't say, like, you're a good player when I've only seen you do 2 bosses, or you've never done this fight before in your entire life. How can I just automatically go, well, you're trash? Like, that's unfair judgment. But in a month from now, criteria 4, or in 2 months from now, or 3 months or whatever, criteria 4 will become more easy to distinguish and become more relevant. But at no point will it be worth or weighted higher than any of the other criterias.
I would just personally, I'd like to see Criteria 4 as the most important weighting overall, because in the end, that's really all that matters, right? Is your raid performance. And I don't want to see people bank like 10,000 good boy points farming stuff, and
there's no such thing as good boy points. I did not mention that. You're right. So if you look in the criteria 1, it's not a percentage. It's a straight up just yes or no. So did you show up to the required farm nights? Yes or no. Like did you come to the raid ready? Yes or no. Everything else actually has a write up to it. And so you can think of it that way. Like the other ones are very simple though, and they're important to me, but there's no bonus points. There's no I killed the Devil's Sword when we looted it. There's nothing you can gain. There's no edges you can gain. I didn't mention donations here at any point. There's no edges you can gain other than you just need to show up and just put your effort in. As long as you're consistent and you just kind of show up to raid to get your loot, and as long as you're not being a really bad player, which is why raid performance will come into play. But like I said, it's impossible for me to gauge raid performance early on, but as it progresses and we can start looking at numbers and looking at logs and being able to be like, hey, well, you've done this boss now 3 times, your DPS is lacking, like, it's a lot easier then. But if it's obvious, if it's completely obvious, if the person has no idea what they're doing, it's going to get held against them for sure.
When you say farm nights, are you just talking about the raid nights?
And I understand what you're trying to say. The raid nights are on farm nights, yes.
Okay.
Or farm nights are on raid nights.
Farm night meaning
So there's no reason you shouldn't show up, because that's required anyways.
Yeah, those are our raid days. So basically, that's why phase 1's super important for us for the farming process, because we have a lot of open days that are required days that we can use for farming stuff to stock for when we have those days filled with actual raids. So as we progress into the times when we don't have these farm nights available to us, it'll be because they're filled with raids, but we will have already utilized this time early on, stocking up to kind of hopefully make it so that that's not such a big issue and we don't have to be farming on extra nights. And even though there's people still will be like, don't think of it as like after those 9 hours a week the guild goes to sleep and no one's on and 0 people and we'll see you guys on Wednesday, Thursday, Monday type thing. Like that's just the required times. There'll be more people on doing everything else the other days, farming and doing everything anyways. So this is just for guild effort.
So for these farm nights, I mean, aside from like the locking down Ungoro Crater and getting Devil's Sword, like there's only so much we need. Like,
so
what's a 40-man raid gonna look like in terms of farming, like not including Devil's Sword?
Well, we can do split. Well, for early on phase 1 with the multi-layers, depending on how many layers we end up getting, we were talking like you could easily have smaller groups and doing multiple things on multiple layers. But at the same time, we could be holding down not only just like the Devil Sword, but also getting like the arcane crystals farming, elemental earth. Like now that the elemental sharpening stones will be out in phase 1, like things like that are, people are going to want to be farming that kind of stuff all the time. The conversion might be out right away, but that's just for Essence of Fire, to my understanding, or for Elemental Fire.
So a lot of it can just be done in small groups. Like
It will be but it'll be a required time that early on there'll be more things to farm. That's the whole point, and then as it goes on later on, there'll be less need for those required nights. And when we deem that we farm enough, but we want to make sure that people don't have to burn themselves out. So if it means we want to hold down Fellwood so we can farm up all the Grom's blood and farm up all the stuff for 3 hours, that will go a long way in the long run.
That might look like some people farming and other people taking out the opposite faction while those people are farming. That is going to be a thing. It is
And
a PvP
farming
server.
so my idea, sorry to cut you off again, but Ungo Crater is a big thing for me because they've also mentioned that the little blue and green crystals and the red crystals on the ground, they'll actually despawn now when people loot them, as opposed to most private servers where they would just sit there and they weren't that big of a commodity. So along with farming the Devil Sword, farming the rich thorium veins that spawn there, you'll have also people going around and farming those, picking up any herbs as well in the zone. And then you have Silithus close by too, if they need to roll in to grab anything.
So basically, people just do whatever they want of those options, or
No,
assigning people.
It'll be assigned, of course. It'll be assigned and looked after, and we can't find a role for the person that will make up something, or eventually they'll realize, okay, now we don't need to be doing this, but we just want to have those days utilized while we can.
Sorry, Chubbins.
I was just gonna say, which could also mean that we're having some people running dungeons for other people
Exactly.
to get them geared as well.
I was just thinking that as well. Like that doesn't, especially early on, that also means that some of these nights might be us doing full out Ubers runs until we spam out whatever people need, doing undead strat runs for whatever people needs, utilizing these nights for farming for, people, for benefiting people. It could even mean PvP, if people want to just go around and have fun on the night too. But we really want to keep those nights organized and ready. One, because we'll be using them for raid later on. We want people used to it, and two, we have the time and we should be utilizing it. There's lots of things we can be farming.
So, Dwops, if you refer to slide 7, you'll notice that Michael and I on those slides both have our professions in them. So eventually we'll have that for everybody in the guild, and we'll be able to split groups accordingly for like skinning groups, mining groups, urban groups,
PvP groups.
Like
PvP groups. That's the main thing, yeah. And that's totally a thing. So if we only need 20 people to actually kill something, but we actually need 25 or 30 people to hold off, the opposite faction, that's utilizing the raid, and you're still doing something.
Yeah, it sounds like you only have like a certain amount of gatherers that you actually need, and the rest will just be bullying.
Yeah, pretty much. Because we need Devil Sword for the Hunters, Rogues, Warriors. We need Lionheart Helms. We need the Force Reactor Disc, the Nightfalls, all that kind of stuff made. We need to get the Dreamfoil. We also need to be spamming Ubers runs for the Flax pattern. We need to be doing Skolo runs for the Flax pattern. Undead Strat. We need to be doing undead and live if we're gonna have. But yeah, for everything. But we're gonna be farming everything that we need for the guild basically during those nights, essentially, up until we don't need it.
The experiment that we just did for staying logged onto the character screen is 30 minutes whether you are active or not.
Yeah, I was wiggling my guy and I just got disconnected.
Attend it, just so you guys know.
So, does that... Did someone say you click on Realm List, that would put you in a queue? Click on Fairbanks then?
Yeah, you would if there was already a queue mounting, but basically I was thinking if you were to say get on at 4:30, or sorry, I guess it'd be 5:30 or whatever time zones.
Just a few.
If you got on at
After
5:30 and logged in then, you'd be good to sit there until it went on. But if you got on there at, if you tried to sit there on that screen at an hour before, you're going to get kicked out. And when you get kicked out, you're going to get kicked out all the way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I was trying to explain. So
Would you be able to skip the queue if you logged right back in? On the character select?
I don't know. I'm just, all I do know is that you will get kicked after 30 minutes.
Just keep logging your.
Just keep logging.
Just keep logging in.
Yeah, when it comes to that, the actual day, like I know a lot of us have off. If we do, I think we're also planning on kind of like sleep till like later, like just only like 2 or 3 hours before launch,
It's
then
gonna
we'll
be
be
like
on.
Christmas. I'm gonna try and sleep in, but
I know. Well, feel free to. Sunday night we're gonna hang out and we're gonna stay up super late.
I don't know how I'm gonna go to sleep the night before, and I haven't been able to sleep recently.
just having wild dreams, just leveling around.
So come in. So come on in Sunday night.
Shrugs.
All right, so let's do pros thoughts because we did Michael's thoughts for a long time.
I like your thoughts, but they're wrong.
I like pros thoughts.
I agree.
No. It's a mashup. We definitely want to keep it as fair as possible, but we also want to reward the people that deserve. So there's some things that there's a lot of concerns with any loot system. Loot Council biggest concern is always, how corrupt is this council? If you guys, there's some of you are new, but they're as transparent as they come, and we try to make the best decisions possible. Every now and then something happens, like it's inevitable. Something gets misled to the wrong person or make the wrong decision. It's gonna happen. And just remember that at the end of the day, like, just keep coming. You'll get every single piece that you want. It's inevitable.
Bless you, Wild.
Especially with MC and Oni basically having all their drops from day one. That means have all of your drops. Yeah, well, I'll take this, and I will pull up a better list of
Bye, Jack.
Bye.
Jack.
Pro, I just want
yo.
to say, like that time the shield was given to Alep.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're trying to prevent from happening.
I didn't really
the
care
only-
even.
The only loot thing that
It's
we've
funny.
ever had in my recent memory that was I think was just giving Bill Brasky the CPS and then the Ash Candy back to back.
Yeah,
And that was DKP anyway, wasn't it?
yeah. There's issues, and that's the sort of stuff we should have just prevented right from the get-go. The day, like, if there's something clearly wrong, like, I'm gonna do my best to say no, that shouldn't happen. But for the most part, like, it should be all ironed out. And shouldn't be too. But like Mike was saying, the biggest thing is just show up, be raid ready, and don't be like selfish all your life.
So is there a loot priority on the Kael Sarar or
What? On the call center.
Living a good item.
It's kind of like a go get it yourself type thing.
But yeah, I'll reiterate though what I've said a few times there. Though being raid ready and just showing up and stuff and make sure you're on the time is enough. But like, if you are not performing, like, that's gonna also be ultimately what shows off everything. Like if you're just gonna like kind of show up and just kind of coast on through and you just do whatever, but you're there all the time, you're probably not gonna receiving the top end pieces first. You're gonna be looked over. If you're subparing everything, if you're not looking to better yourself. As I've said many times over countless meetings now, that was the whole premises on doing Loot Council in the first place, was
that loot council only works if everyone's putting in the equal effort and everyone's trying their best. So if somebody isn't trying their best, which is why I weighted the performance lower, because it's supposed to already be inherited. Like if you're not doing well, you're not going to be in the raid. You will be replaced. You will be removed. Not to say like if it's your first time or something like that, or if you're trying, or if you're if you're right there, you're not just going to be bullied out. But if you're showing no effort to try and better yourself, you're a lost cause, or you're causing issues, or your performance just isn't good, you just don't know what you're doing, you're not looking to learn, you'll get replaced and removed. So don't take the weighting of any of the things I wrote there as in a sense like I don't care about people dog shitting and coming in here and taking the loot, because that was part of the initial reason months ago why we talked about going from the DKP system that we had done for nearly 4 years and switch to this loot council system that we're trying to work out, was to alleviate that issue, which was the person that just shows up and aleps their way into best in slot, and basically they didn't put the effort in, but they put enough effort in that the DKP system allowed it to work out. That there was no other underlining issue other than, did you show up to raid? Did you make it through the whole night? Yeah, you did. Here's your DKP for the night. It didn't matter if you were number 6 on the DPS at a 6, like 6 warlocks at a 6. For every raid forever. It didn't matter if you didn't cast a shadow bolt for 20 seconds. But now it does matter. But it inherently matters. It matters from the very start, before the loot starts dropping and stuff like that. Like if you're not putting the effort, you're not trying, you're not decursing, you're not doing the right thing you're supposed to do, you're not banishing when we ask you, things like that, that will immediately affect you from getting loot, because it might immediately affect you from even being in the raid.
I think part of that raid is also, let's say you're let's say you're like a Malar or something and not performing as well as you could. Just kidding, Malar. But let's say you're like in the, you have all the other people in your class.
Not in the guild anymore. Jesus.
Sounds like fake news.
Was a hunter.
You guys talk about Malar right to his face?
We love Malar. We only do it because we like him. So let's say you're like, you're the bottom of your class. Like, just because you're the bottom doesn't necessarily not performing. Like, as long as you're like, you're trying to get better. You're asking that guy at the top, like, hey man, like, what are you doing that I'm not doing? Trying to figure it out. That's very important.
And
you pressing your keys all the way down.
And healers is a whole other ball game, and we can get into that too when we're waiting for waiting things for healers. And the healing thing is going to be a lot more chatting. I'm sure you guys are going to be talking a lot more stuff out. It's a lot less cut and paste as it is when it comes to other things, like basically like DPS. It's a little bit easy.
Your cat?
No.
Talk shit about the DPS,
But basically, like the DPS, it's a little bit more cut and paste, especially with the WoW logs and stuff like that. Like basically, it's like, okay, this fight mages should be low DPS because they're decursing. Okay, well this mage just smashed everybody. So obviously, like little things like that, it's simple. But for healers, it's a little bit different. Experienced healers will know the issue, especially as a druid healer of a paladin coming through and just sniping all your heals. Druid looks like crap because he's got hots rolling. That's like in this hots get basically nullified because now they're just over heals because someone just topped that person up. There's add-ons to help with that, and they'll be using it. But realistically, like somebody could look like a bad healer when really they're just getting sniped all raid long, and they're actually a really snap healer. They're putting the hots when they need to have it,
or other things like
throwing a bubble or doing whatever.
Like you're a healer and you're healing at the critical moments where others are doing small heals. Like you're a paladin that's doing holy light, like max rank melee during magma dart, things like that, where like your numbers overall won't look as good if you just snipe heal the whole time, but we know that you're actually doing proper job.
Yep. And that's what we're going to look at. And also like, I wasn't healing my right target, or I was healing somebody else, somebody paid me off, so I'm giving them this PI now, or like little things like that. Like that's going to find yourself getting not favored when it comes to certain loots, when it comes to healers and stuff. But other than that, it's going to be up to Verity and the class leaders and stuff, how they're going to figure out. Healing loot is, I'm just glad I'm not a healer. That's all I got to say. But melee, tanks, like caster, loot, stuff like that, it's a lot of that's going to come down to the first things I said, because your performance should be inherited. Like, you guys should be performing, and if you're not performing, definitely you're going to recognize, like, okay, I'm not getting loot. Like, why am I not getting loot? Like, obviously, you should never get to that point. It should be obvious to you. And I'm not talking like they've already said, people can get to 6, like, if there's 6 rogues and you're the 6th rogue, but, everyone's doing 450 DPS and you're doing 445, like, it's not going to look at you and be like, oh, this guy's shit, he's never going to get anything. I'm talking like, if everyone's doing 450 DPS and you're coming at 200 DPS, there's this huge transparency, and especially early on when the gear is basically the same, everyone's basically same best in slot, same everything like that, and for some reason this guy is just nowhere near. Like, it's not because you don't have the loot, it's mostly because you don't have the knowledge of either your class or the boss fight, and we're not going to hold that against the other players who are, putting in the effort and already have learned and things like that. They're not going to, prior you over them, basically ever. So that's why you would need to, like, either talk with your class leader, who has already agreed. When we had our little meeting, they've all agreed that if any player is willing to listen or learn, they will talk and explain anything they want to know. If you want to know GSO's entire rotation, right down to, what button he pushes second to second, if that's what you want to hear, they're willing to do it, provided you listen and provided you take it in and you want to learn from it. But if you don't want to learn from it, you don't want to learn from your superior person, like, I'm not saying the class leader is going to be the best player in your group, but whoever the best person is, I'm sure they'll be willing to teach. But if you're not willing to listen or learn, you're going to find yourself being replaced by someone who is willing to listen or learn. But I think everyone that's here, like, I'm not that I'm falling on deaf ears, but I think everyone that's been here, showing up all the time and stuff like that, you guys are already going to be putting in the effort. None of you guys really have things to worry. This isn't supposed to be a scare tactic by any means. It's supposed to just alleviate the people that are very serious, very DPS, very healing, very, raid-oriented people who want to succeed. Just letting them know that, that stuff's going to be rewarded. And we're not just going to allow it to be the same thing it was before, where top-end pieces go to basically undeserving players.
Yeah.
Sorry for Michael's long rants. 45-minute meeting.
Good quick recap.
AQ loot.
Okay, on to the next slide, slide 10. And we're going to talk some.
Perfect, I'm almost home. I can open up my... we should go over world boss loot. Based on the server, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to kill a lot of world bosses, but there's about 8 pieces total that are probably the best in slot items in the game for some classes, and we just need to make sure they go to those classes specifically.
Yeah, we can definitely peruse the loot for sure when it comes
just
to
in
bosses.
case.
Okay. So some of the stuff that isn't really worth talking about, I'll just skip it. Go through it inventory type at a time. So we'll start with like 2-hand weapons and work our way down through the list.
Good, if you're starting with 2-hand weapons, I'm gonna go get a piece pizza.
Me pizza.
Calzone.
Off the top of my head, the Cthulhu Axe, Warrior Prio, I'd say the Twin Imp Sword, Ret Paladin Prio, the Staves, the Healing Staff's an upgrade from Benediction, though it's kind of equal to all classes, not Paladin, they can't use Staves, so Druid Paladin, Druid Priest, they're kind of equal. The Caster Staff is similar to Staff of the Shadow Flame, but it's got 2 hit and 1 crit instead of 2 crit. So it's kind of whoever needs an upgrade gets that, because they're easy to get. The Staff of the first boss is kind of crappy. And then there's another 2-handed mace that's also kind of crappy. Another 2-handed axe that's kind of crappy.
think for, I guess, really Dark Age of Sin, since it's, I don't know if that's like more PvP a lot.
It's definitely a PvP item because like GSO's not here, but didn't he say like even compared to BRE, Dowrins is better for DPS? So you would assume even a Cthulhu weapon, you'd have epic one-handers by then. It still wouldn't be a raid upgrade. So all two-handers are pretty much PvP for Alliance.
Right.
He said he would have to test it, but he would assume that he can't see it.
Yeah, so based on testing. And then even then, we know that BRE should be better than almost everything until Might of Minithil, maybe, right? That's only because Might of Minithil has a flat 100 more top end.
Just real quick, I agree with Chubbins. I think since we're going to be going through every single piece of, if you don't want to stick around, or if you just don't really know, you don't have to stick around.
You're going through every single piece of loot in the instance?
Yeah.
Right,
I mean, like you said, a lot of items you don't have to talk a lot about. You can just look at it and be like, doesn't matter, doesn't matter, doesn't matter.
Anyways.
So if you still want to stick around and talk through this stuff, alright, see you, Rich.
As you probably should though, like just keep in mind like the reason we wanted to do the AQ40 loot as well is because this kind of shows the rationale between why you may or may not be like, I can pass on this piece in Blackwing Lair, or I'll pass on this piece for now and I'll wait till later prio so that I could be prioed maybe first on this one. And AQ40 will see why you might want to end up doing that, because the way classic, well not classic, but the people who made vanilla, when they started figuring itemization, it was around AQ40 when it started clicking for them kind of how itemization should start working. So you'll start seeing a huge leap in the quality of the gear that comes out of there, and then either further in the game. So you may want to stick around and kind of see these pieces, but yeah, it's up to you if you guys don't want to be part of it. But
also at that point where since we're getting everything at the get-go, that almost everybody, like you were saying, Mike, that almost everybody could have everything.
Oh yeah,
by the
for
time
sure.
AQ comes out, so going over priority just really means yes, this might be better than this, but
this is just for Molten
it'll be
Core,
just
though.
a reset anyways, right?
Them releasing everything really didn't affect anything other than Molten Core having the biggest qualm with it was basically there was some pieces that should have been gated a little bit so that you still would have had a chance to get the piece, but you wouldn't have had 6 months to get that piece. You would have maybe had 2 or 3 weeks or maybe 2 months or something to get that piece, so less of them would have been around. So now it's going to be like full saturation and best in slot pieces probably going into Blackwing Lair, kind of trivializing that instance. But after that point, them changing their change in itemization really doesn't affect anything past Blackwing Lair just being a
Well,
show.
no, really. 1.10 pieces came out after AQ. AQ was 1.9.
Right, but there's
mostly done.
But they're not releasing that stuff till later.
Yeah, that's right.
They're still holding that stuff back. So from the change that they did make, it really just
So it's
affects
1.9 and before, and then 1.10 and later.
Yeah, that's basically how they have it.
1.10 will come with AQ.
So, like, basically, they're not really screwing a ton of the end game stuff in any way. It just means that for the reason that Molten Core kind of sucked for me is because I looked at it as this staging of more gear, reasoning for people to come back and keeping Molten Core more fresh than it all just being there. And it, there's a chance that you may get a whole bunch of the pieces early on and kind of lose more of that spark and that interest to go back, whereas if there was a fresh new piece like an Onslaught Girdle or a Mana Igniting Core, now that you want to go back for that chance instead of just, oh shit, we got to go back for bindings and it feel like a chore, whereas before it would have just kind of been, okay, cool, we can go back for bindings, we can go back for all this other stuff because we still need it, whereas now it's just like, oh shit, like, do we have time to go in there and just do a Gar and Baron kind of run, because that's what MC becomes eventually.
Well, since it is classic, and like I've said a bunch of times, I don't know about most of the rest of you, alts always get bindings and alt runs, bring in people who need specific MC items for that, yada yada.
Right, you do that. I'm just saying it would have been nice if, like, for during the phase 1 duration, you kind of had more of a refreshing reason to go back to MC, but I can see MC feeling a little dry, but that might just be making you more chomp at the bit for Blackwing Lair kind of thing. But I can see MC kind of getting dry after the second or third month of it, and no other real content coming out, and nothing really changing with the game itself. The game will be fairly static until Phase 2 changes, where before it felt like there was a little bit of small patch updates, like small little updates to the game, where it's kind of going to be like Phase 1 into Phase 2.
Yeah, but raiding with no loot on certain bosses was kind of a lame idea.
Sure, but that wasn't going to last super long. But I agree, and that's at the end of the day, that's kind of how they saw it too. It made no sense, I guess, for Domo not to have loot, even though that's kind of how it was back in the day. And it, like, if you wanted the authentic experience, patch for patch, that's how it would have been. Like, you would have had a lot less loot because it wasn't in the game. But I understand like the rationale of today's gamer. It's like everyone kind of wants everything to be now, and just killing a boss for the satisfaction of killing a boss isn't enough anymore. Like you do need to get some sort of monetary reward, and so I get why they did it. It makes sense, and filled the game with more things, add all the quest hubs and stuff. It makes sense, more things to do, reps to grind. Have all the enchants out. It simplifies a lot of the game. And there's it's not a terrible thing, but I really don't see it as a super positive thing either. I think kind of staging some stuff, holding some things back, kind of adds to the game a little bit. But that's just my opinion, and at the end of the day, it's still going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a lot of things to do, and either way, it's not really changing my feel. I'm still going to be just as hardcore, just as gung ho, and just as happy in the raids, just to see all the loot. So at the end of the day, it's fine. There's nothing really wrong, but I felt it does lose a little of the flair.
I see some unintended consequences. Like for mages, I can't speak for all classes, but for mages, when Dire Maul gets released, there's no upgrades for mages in Dire Maul. So that's one of the downsides, I think, of this.
And will the 15 agility be out as well?
Not the 25 though, right?
Yeah.
Oh, everything.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was. Can you go back on your other mic, or back on your phone?
Both agility and chance
Oh, there we go. That's better
will
now.
be out.
Sorry, what will be?
Both agility and chance 25 and 15 will both be out according to the list that was linked yesterday.
Damn, that's nice.
Where's
So,
that?
like-
Where's that at?
Timber Maw.
Y'all can hear me, right?
Oh, I don't know where the link went.
So Chubba, they just posted that a few days ago, basically after their Q&A, saying everything that is relevant to when it originally came out, or if the reputation was out, more than likely that item or piece of when it like initially launched. It's like Timber Mall, since it was out day one, all Timber Mall gear vendor and recipes when they were available.
So what
that
about?
means we might get the good NR craftable gear, not just the mail when AQ comes out.
It's true. And we'll be able to make all like the Thorium Brotherhood fire resist sets as well.
Which means Dark Iron ore will be highly valuable at the very start of the game. It's probably going to be the most expensive commodity over Devil's Star, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna like 800 or okay.
Yeah, we should probably, as a second group, have them focus on Dark Iron if possible.
Well, that's just it. That's like basically the farming nights will be kind of more of a directed thing. We'll know what we need to farm, and we'll just say, okay, this night this is what we need to farm, so we'll go out and do that kind of thing.
Relink the thing?
He just now linked it.
I don't have it. Last thing I have is Baz Lincoln Classic Wowhead.
That's it.
That's it.
No, I need the slideshow link.
Oh, he wants a slideshow.
Yeah. Also, 2 hands, AQ.
Oh yeah, we should go back to AQ.
We have all of Nax to do too.
Yeah, already going to chess piece.
That pretty much nail all the 2 hands?
Okay, so if everyone wants to go to the slide that Pro's got, well not the slide, but the Google's that Docs the Pro link there, and then you'll see that we're on all the types of chess pieces that drop in AQ40.
The first one, Shadow Resist, Hit Chest, Warlock Tanks ×2 Prio, then PvP, doesn't matter. Maybe other Warlocks in case they have to tank, but definitely Shadow Resist and Hit, Warlock Tank Prio, it's an obvious.
Well, I mean, in fairness, that is a really good chess piece
Well,
regardless
yeah, that
if you're
too. If
tanking.
you break Bloodvine, you can use that, and
Yes.
it's a little bit better than a Bloodvine chest.
Absolutely.
But the same goes where, since Warlocks they hit a little bit better, it's still really good for Warlocks either.
Well, I mean, I used that even when I didn't have to tank. Because, like he said, I can break that and then use
Yeah,
the other
a
stuff as well.
Bloodvine breaking piece right there.
Anything else jumping out? I think the rest are. The only thing I see is this healer chest. It's cloth. Right now we have it for all healers.
Because it's an upgrade for all healers.
There's nothing else like paladin chest.
Well, paladins would probably roll in the robes of Bell Tower Power, wouldn't they be still?
Yeah, I would think so.
Will either be in tier,
Yeah.
volatile power, or the robes out of Strat Undead.
True faith.
I lump that into tier 1 because hopefully if you were going for tier you'd have it already.
Well, I mean, the breastplate, they could go that way too.
These aren't counting the token chest, right? Should we look at those separate, or?
Druids
Oh,
will
it
use their
count.
token chests for healing.
Pally's
As far as
there.
I know for those, we prio rogues everything except the shoulders, right? We get all the warriors their shoulders, and then rogues get prio to get 5-piece, since they get tier 3 after all the warriors.
I think we said if the rogue has 4-piece and is ready for the 5-piece, would let get the shoulders.
Yeah.
The 5-piece is really good.
Are we having any clothies doing soaking?
I mean, we shouldn't have to, but here's the thing.
We should have everyone make NR gear to make viscous either.
Yeah.
So we'll just have everyone in NR gear regardless, and it's useful in some spots in Nax too.
Okay.
I'm not sure why the robes of true fit rate are only locked in. Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is hunters can use that as well.
well, is there not a better hunter
Well,
nature this?
You got what, 25 on the one?
Shadow Priest because we weren't gonna make mages soak.
The only reason I'm saying, I think it's what, 25 on the nature resist from the craftable from the AQ area.
Yeah, and things like that. Like at the end of the day, you're gonna just use out of 5 because this is again, it's a drop. It's from the bug tree. Might see 2 of this. At least that's what I think. But if by the time you get to Huhuron, get one of these. I mean, probably be killing that day 1, I would assume. So this doesn't matter anyhow.
Yeah, we're gonna go into the AQ patch with all the NR materials farmed to make the things. Day 1, people will have the rep because you can get CC rep before it comes out with AQ.
Yeah.
But I'll at least have all the tailoring shit done because I want to be able to make the giant herb bag for my alts.
Yes, please.
Well. But yeah, we should be able to go in day 1, crafted blue NR gear, and be able to do everything up to Cthulhu.
Ruffle, why are you linking stupid titty streamers in the middle of a guild meeting?
Let's move on to.
She's not stupid. That's Asmongold's girlfriend. I'm sure she's super
she is
intelligent. No, I'm sure she's got super high IQ.
Well, she's good at manipulating people into giving her money.
Chess pieces, guys.
Yeah, her chess pieces are.
Or capes.
Currently,
I'll say stand up.
we're here. We're doing loot right now. We're going over loot priorities for AQ 40.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Not really. That looks good to me.
Look at Devoured. Be a major warlock doesn't have the Z cloak.
Yeah. Put out.
Good sense to give them prio.
then most likely, if you have that cloak, you won't be getting Saffron cloak. But I mean, they come from Cthulhu and Saffron.
Yep. Okay.
If anyone notices anything that, because a lot of these things have already pre-prios, because we've done this before. If you guys notice anything that you guys like don't agree with, you're like, hey, why is this? Feel free to just be like, why, or give your.
Everything was controversial.
Yeah, surprisingly, that was a myth.
Wait, what? I'm not getting Thunder Fury?
No, you're getting a Thunder Fury. And you get a Thunder Fury.
Again, here we have nature resist. Maybe I'm not understanding well. Why?
I'm pretty sure we had Warlock and Shadow Priest because we we're just mages never gonna soak.
I mean, like mages would be farthest away from run, sort of.
Yeah, because they're the farthest away from Huron and they do the best damage in the fight because melee
Right.
kinda has to soak. So they mages can just sit there and explode.
I just want to
Less
ask
threats than Warlock.
before we
Hadaway.
finish talking about Thunder Fury. Thunder Fury as human. Thank you.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, you may continue.
Okay, so we could pretty much keep that there. Keep Shadow Priest boots. I believe that's the best in slot boots of.
Yeah, I think so. It's either that or they use the MP5 boots that have a little bit less spell damage, but it's whatever.
Who gets Atiash? Is that pro? Oh, nice.
No, we're doing
My ult.
I'll take it. Can we roll for it?
Yeah, every shard got a roll for.
The best setup is to be with a Wraith Blade in the offhand in the Atiash group, because you'll have more stuff than the Atiash guy.
Should have a dueling tournament for it.
Don't worry, I'll just take it off you guys. No big deal.
That's rep prio right there, right?
Okay, I think boots are good. Let's go to fingers. I'm sure this week.
Change that one to Mage Prio.
The crit one, because we want warlocks to have hit.
Yes, Cthulhu Ring will be Warlock Prio. Because absolute best in slot caster ring, Cthulhu Ring isn't the mage's best in slot.
Yeah. Okay, we could do that, Chubbins.
And that takes a bunch of people off the Cthulhu Eye that lets more healers get it, because they want the neck too, so it'll be Warlocks and healers, as opposed to Warlocks, Mages, and healers.
Just real quick, well, Chubbins wants to go over the final slide, just in case anyone has to go. So, basically it's just saying next thing is on Monday, and that day, that minute that we get a game, basically to form the guild as soon as possible. So I'm gonna have two different tunes sitting there, starting area, and get 10 silver as soon as possible. So talking like a bunch of people, 10 silver should happen like after the first quest, basically. Like you'll probably have like 70 copper or something. So if you can trade then that guild the first couple minutes be world first guild.
Yeah, should be a guild announcement with the name of the tune.
Yeah, the whole world first guild made announcement.
There's a
No, I
for
mean
that,
with
right?
the name of the tune, so we remember to do it.
Oh well, we'll be doing it like we kind of expect. Pretty much everyone's going to be in TeamSpeak for launch for the most part, and then as we start leveling into our groups, we'll fan into different channels and stuff. We'll make a bunch of extra channels and stuff for leveling groups and stuff. But kind of everyone will be in here for the initial launch. But we really plan like. You know, if you see one of Pro's alts in your layer, basically just be like, okay, I can see you, and just like Pro said, you can pretty much do like if you're a human, he's gonna be a human. So if you do like the Cobalt quest, enough stuff pick up, even if you get like 60 copper, it's like it's it may screw you over. You might not get that one skill right away, but it'll help us in the long run, and it's really easy. Every time I've done my run so far, I've had an extra like almost 2 silver every time. So you can definitely part with a silver or less. You're not asking for anything more than that. But I think there's probably more than 10 humans in the channel here, so we'll be able to. Well, but yeah, there's.
Mike,
probably,
we're all humans.
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for that. I thought that, but yeah, there's 10 people here that will be in Northshire at the start, so we'll be able to bang that out really quick. And it is really important. We kind of have, not that we have like a
How
super
many
cool
accounts do you plan
name.
on having?
Who?
Anybody.
26.
I already have 2 active right now.
Okay, well,
I'm just gonna be using
if
one.
you all just with your secondary accounts, like my main can just keep on going, but my secondary account, I can just create a character, log out, or sell all the items. It makes like 9 or 10 copper. Give it to pro, log out.
I think it's actually
make another
like 20 something copper. That
You're welcome to do that if you want, or you could just go and do one quest and give him 60 copper and just move on. But if you want, do it any way you want.
You already iterated to why it might be
well,
hard to do that.
also like if you kill one mob and he drops like mail pants or something, it's like 25 copper, 30 copper.
If
Well,
we're gonna just sell
we
the
don't know
shit
what
that
the
we're gonna.
serviceability is, so when you log out, you may not log back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you might get kicked right out. But at the same time, Pro's just gonna invite we'll just go to his lair. Like Pro will just invite people, and we'll just if we can't see him. But either way, it's the utmost importance to just get him the money. If you don't want to partake, you don't have to. But ideally, if we just like it, ideally
We can smash out in 1 minute.
We're not really trying to go for world first guild. That's not the main point. The point is we want to make sure we get our guild name, but we'll be doing it as fast as possible.
The Cthulhu ring isn't on there on the list. That should be Warlock, and that 27 agility, 17 stamina ring should be Hunter Prio.
Yes.
I don't think anybody would want it but a Hunter anyway. But they also get Prio on the attack power crit ring too.
Which rings are these?
There are slides here on OGF, but we're all done with them already.
Well, that's Val only if they're still hit where they're supposed to be in hit, and if they change some gear, they won't be there until they can get that up.
Yeah, like all the other melee have hit rings at this point still, and there's later hit rings in next too, which is why the
And
Hunter
we should
Prio in that ring.
we should have no problem getting there though, especially with everybody should have the scope by then because it's out phase 1. It looks like as well.
Yep.
Isn't AQ40 pretty shitty for hunters? Like,
Most of it.
To upgrade your set to 2.5. From what I had read in the past.
You can get weapons and rings and shit and cloaks, really.
I think maybe the
if you don't have
still better.
If you don't have the crossbow, the gun's better than the bow.
Yeah.
To shoot a sick worm, look at that.
Alright, let's continue.
Okay. Let's go into hands. Screw up. So the portal are absolute trash. They drop from trash.
Guard.
Nice.
Saya ones were always pretty good. High MP5. People want MP5 sets.
I don't think anyone would be taking it for a main spec item though. It would be specifically for an MP5
the
set.
priority there, good reason to do Vim. Those are pretty good gloves.
Those gloves, yeah, they probably are best in slot.
No, the ones above them are best in slot, but the ones below them from Vim are just really good too. They're better than Mage tier 2.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm.
The Cthulhu gloves are best in slot for both.
Yeah.
And I forgot those gloves existed.
These are leather.
Oh, there's a leather? No, man.
So.
Rip.
Not really good for it. I guess maybe pals.
27 heal and 1 crit. Put it in.
Yep.
Do we know how much
Most of the trio loot isn't that great.
1 upgrade, spell damage 1 from touch chaos.
That'll...
Shaman gloves. Only paladins can use that.
Yeah, that's all self-explanatory.
The rest of it's all plate, so.
Head. Well, ahead beat peeps. Don Bertos. Super. And we don't have tallies on this because there's better tally head.
Yeah.
Obviously, Shinder.
Mission Dare, or if we can kill the green dragons, that head is really, really good too. One is pretty much Don Rigoberto's hat, but with 1 crit as well. Leather.
Okay. Offhand. So Tara's might is almost the best in slot. I know for Pallies they get a shield at like Kate or something.
There's an early shield too. I think there's an early shield that has spell crit.
But this isn't. So this is not a huge upgrade compared to the AV off. It's like. And this mages warlocks off is best in slot.
The offhand should theoretically be druids paladins because all priests should have their benediction. But that's neither here nor there.
I mean, they could be switching one hand offhand too.
Yeah, this could be start switching to plus this, but
if you get the staff, if we do the quest to get them a dagger, or they get, I think you can take that and the AQ20 weapon, and it's slightly better than benediction. I don't know. And then also the Cthulhu weapon.
I don't see it really being a huge upgrade until like the base off Cthulhu.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think you need the mace to make it better.
It's fine. Anyway, side grade.
okay. Legs. Festering swarm. Switch. If you want it. If you ever wear this.
And tier 2 is probably better because it has crit.
LOL. Doesn't matter. At this point, warriors have tank. So this one's like
Maybe for hunters that don't have tier yet.
I don't know.
You just put together pieces that have like.
Sorry, I'm back. What's the question?
Sand Reaver
Sand Reaver.
leggings, like when would you use them? Like I would imagine if you're going for like max attack power and crit, and they're better than tier 2 in that instance.
Well, it depends on what if you're staying marks or not. So some will and some won't. By then we will have enough agility to have at least one, maybe two go survival.
Aren't Titanic leggings like where that?
Yeah, that
Or-
was like that because they weren't out when, for whatever reason, when we were doing AQ or something, right?
Yeah, they were holding until 110.
I mean, those legs, like alone, obviously are going to be better, but it just depends on what you're mixing them with.
Add those on my hunter.
And I don't see anybody needing them more than the hunters would at that time anyway, though.
No, hunters will want tier 1 or tier 2 bonuses.
Slime coated legs. We have ale go to warrior assist.
For soaking.
Is that because the crafted pieces
Weren't out, yeah.
there should be crafted feature.
Yeah, the crafted one gives like 35 an hour. So.
But they weren't
their
out
legs, though?
on AQ release, but they should be out for this AQ release.
I think the crafteds are braces, shoulders, chest, and maybe helm. I don't think there's pants. I don't remember.
Pants you get from the quest, where you kill the guy with the whole raid.
Outside.
With the yeah, so everybody gets like 35 an hour pants. So those are the
Okay. These legs are the ones that paladins want.
yeah. But then
they're played anyway.
What item slot is next?
Neck.
Oh.
They're all pretty bad.
Yep, except for the one off the eye.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only one you want.
That's not even in here, is it, bro?
So.
The eye.
Oh.
Cthulhu, eye loot, and all of the sets aren't in there.
Oh, okay.
And the weapons from the turn-ins aren't in there either.
Yeah, but we like for the probably go a rotation, like since it's your best in slot healer neck and it's your best in slot caster, probably only makes sense to do hey this week, hey a caster next week, hey a healer next week, caster next week. Or
probably depend on what drops off of Cthulhu. Like if a mace drops, you can give the ranged the ring. You know what I mean?
yeah, there'll be other factors too. Oh, what do our previous like drops look like for necks, for healers, for caster? So works. Legs are ranged two here. I have rogues for this one, whatever reason. I guess because 18 seems good, doesn't it?
It's a shitty hunter weapon.
It's terrible. It's got way
I
too
think
little
it's
top end.
because we might have prioed the bow off of Magmadar to warriors.
Yeah, I think now we have it
Flute.
open to. That's open to both.
That's really not a bad PvP weapon for rogues either, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. And warriors for that matter. But they usually like some stam, so.
Yeah, right now we have rogues and for strikers. And I believe that
Warriors
20.
the AQ20 one, right? And then rogues get that one. So I mean, I don't know if a rogue would want.
Yeah, I don't think a rogue is for real. Hold on. Good.
It's also not a bad catch-up weapon though for a hunter if they're like an alt or new to the raid.
I know it's the larvae of the great ones, a hunter.
Yeah, but it seems to have a smaller drop chance than I've seen.
Okay.
Just like guns. A lot of hunters don't like guns.
I hate guns.
Yeah, I don't know if will be able to mod Silencer into WoW Classic. Hope we do. It makes it makes bullet sounds like a silence. Pew pew pew.
Nice. Don't forget I'm streaming. Okay, one to shield. Got one. It's not really good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, compared to an offhand, it's not as good as an offhand, but it's better than the Veil Shield.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably be like a PvP shield.
Alright, shoulders. Get claw shoulders. Have his priest, right? They don't even. I believe you're like tier 2, pretty close to as good as for priests, druids.
I think those are like slightly better if you're not using whatever piece tier 2.
8 piece.
So this one.
Yeah, 5 piece or 3 piece.
Their Storm Raid shoulders only have 29 plus healing on them. But we won't be using tier 2 anyway. We'll be using Wild Growth,
Yeah,
theoretically.
Priest, because
right.
and druids can get Wild Growth.
Quite a bit of this just kind of.
More shards. We need shards.
Is Rage still here? Oh.
Not shards. Shards.
I don't think we'll have a problem because we'll get Nexus crystals from MC right away, I imagine.
It's just enough for everybody to have like tier 3 and enchants and shit.
Yeah, I think we need like 122 or something like that. Time comes out. Okay, shoulders, plate, obviously it's palette. Okay. Trinket. Shard of the Fallen Star. That's a tank prime.
It scales with spell damage.
Yeah.
I love the description of the Gabber. Gabber, whatever.
Yeah, I know, right? It's very descriptive.
The badge of the Swarm Guard, I've seen hunters with that, though. I mean, they can use a number of different trinkets for Feign Death swap trinkets.
We don't know if Feign Death is gonna be resisted on the server.
I don't know.
What do you mean?
The hunters can drop aggro by 100% by using Feign Death ability.
I know what Feign Death is, but why wouldn't Feign Death be able to be resisted?
Because it's in Nastalris, Nastalris 2, Elysium, and this, it was not resisted at all. At 0 chance.
I don't care about private servers. in retail vanilla WoW, you were able to have Feign Death be resisted. It's a mechanic of the game. It should be in...
Yes, that's why there's talents to spec into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, we should be, but we don't know yet.
What I'm saying is we do know.
Finish the sand. Still have this as Fury and Warlock.
There's one from next later, but I think it's from a late boss that's caster only, that's gonna be Warlock only. It's 2 crit with the same thing.
I know for like, I could see that was like a really good Fury pop recklessness right off the hop. This bad boy rolling. It's a real short fight. It's pretty beastly. Scarebrush, I believe. This was a fun fact. I believe this was paladins or healers would use this in all of TBC and all of Wrath.
Using Blue Dragon as well. They didn't nerf Blue Dragon until late until TBC, I think.
Yep, those are the trinkets you want to have.
There's some good ones in TBC too.
Go on. Go on. Okay.
Can increase my attack power by $29,000. Nice.
That's what I thought, man. That's a pretty good description.
And Vanquish Tactical. That's
No.
okay. Trinkets are good. Let's go waste. Scroll up at my stock. Twerk.
Best in slot for both. As far as tier 3 belts go, let me pull those up. Our Warlock's gonna go for their 6-piece tier 3. It's not absolute best in slot for DPS, but it gives them a very large threat reduction.
But aren't they going to have to wait on the mages to get to that piece set?
For what, tier?
Yeah.
Mages only want like 4 pieces a tier.
But the ones that we need to complete it also, I think the mage have priority on those to start with. I can't remember if it was I want to say it's the gloves.
I don't think we've ever went over Nax priority. No, mages don't want the gloves. We really
So
want
the
that
helm, I
glove.
think, maybe? Helm or shoulders, maybe?
Helm and chest are the 2 that pretty much everyone wants. But I mean, that'll give Warlocks more argument for it going for their 6-piece, because getting a Warlock is 6-piece, it's like a 15% flat threat reduction.
Yes.
Which is pretty big. Let's see, the Warlock tier 3 belt compared to that is 7 less spell damage, but it's a piece towards your 6-piece. Whereas the mage one is 13 less spell damage, and it's a hit instead of a crit, and it's a hit that we probably don't need. So I mean, it still should be equal, but Warlocks would be considering their 6-piece tier 3, where mages kinda wouldn't be.
I think that on that particular situation, we don't really need to make a prio per se per class, just about who's about to complete a set.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, the thing I'm looking at about for this belt is that Corehound belt is 16 int and 62 healing. So really, you'd be getting 3 int, 15 stam, and 7 MP5 as a druid or paladin. I would say maybe do priest first, And then after priests have it,
Right.
druids. I mean, because
for reference, priest tier 2 belt, if they have that, is 26 healing and some stats.
I would say it's a bigger upgrade for the priests.
Yeah, and all the priests are gonna want that belt.
It's only if you have your 8-piece, right, that you wouldn't get rid of it.
It's if you break your 8-piece, though. Like, eventually, if you can replace every single piece of your 8-piece with some throughput, with like a higher throughput piece.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Might be arguably.
Like you want the Promag leg. Actually.
Yeah.
Get
You
high.
have to replace almost your whole tier 2 for it to be an upgrade, because that 8-piece turns your 100% scaling or 80% scaling, 85% into 185% scaling heal.
Yeah, you basically you want like the 3 or the 8, because the 5 is like nothing. So it's like, yeah.
And I'll probably, like I said when we were talking, Baz, I'm fine with having the broken set.
Yeah.
And other people getting the tier 2.
Yeah, I'm cool with that too. Just get 3 wherever and let's go from there.
5-piece is good for trash.
Yeah, suppression.
Yeah, with priest it's gonna be like Prio the 3-piece, but belt will probably be one of those pieces that we're like gonna all want, because prior to that it'll be.
Everyone's gonna have 8-piece tier
Yeah, probably.
if they want it.
Belt of and agony. That's a slot belt.
Yep.
And rest on that.
Whoever doesn't
Good. So,
that, and we have to kill Lord Creed last, so we might never ever see that, depending on.
yeah, it's the hardest.
I think that's the only good thing from Lord Creed last. I don't know. There might be one other.
Okay.
Hey Val, do you know like what they're doing with the wands, like in phase 1 and 2, the green ones?
I have no idea. They shouldn't be nerfed, because
They
I
are.
can't.
They are. I'm.
They should be nerfed, yeah.
I'm positive.
I can't find the nerf anywhere in the patch notes through all the vanilla patch notes. The only time I've ever seen anyone mention that they were nerfed was in a TBC patch, but they say they nerfed it a couple patches ago, and it was.
So I don't understand that. Is they said stat progression wise, the items will not change.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure I've seen a blue post where it said like, for example, what's it the
Dragon Finger of Healing.
Exactly. It can only go to like 32 instead of 35 or whatever it is. Like it's the lower one from phase 1, like the whole game.
Well,
how's that relevant? Because 2 days ago they mentioned.
True.
Kind of dropped a bomb.
But it was it was in a blue post. It was a while ago, but they said that I believe that changed in 1.10 or something? Question mark. But if you go to the websites and you put like here.
I don't think we're gonna know till we actually get in stuff.
But yeah, but they did. I mean, they could be wrong, but
One-handers look good, but we're missing, like I said, the other weapons from the things. The one-handed axe, the Pugio, and a mace.
Can you answer Trigger's question in TS chat?
Me?
I know you have I don't remember what it is. I know that there's another cloak, but.
What cloak would
Saph.
you get?
Saffron.
Yeah.
Isn't that like 2 phases away though?
We're looking at big picture, not immediate. Give me upgrades.
Oh my god.
So, like, isn't Diremog as good as Saffron?
What? No.
I
The
guess.
Saffron cloak I
It's like a
mentioned,
side
the
grade. I
Saffron
like it for
cloak I mentioned
PvP.
earlier is the cloak that drops off of Saffron.
I'm
Next.
talking about the one from Anixia.
Oh, about that.
I'm looking at this page and it says it's reserved for warlocks. I don't know. I thought it was the one from Anixia.
No.
When I click the link, it takes me to the Anixia one.
Cthulhu locks. I mean, the Cthulhu cloak's gonna be. Yeah, it's everyone.
Okay. Oh. Got this right. It's kind of tick.
Yep.
Got
Fish sword, second best sword in the game. Maybe the GM swords are slightly better. I don't know.
Okay. Think about it. Good. Obviously, we're gonna still go back and add the. Make sure we know that your 2.5 comprise and weapons. Pugio, yes. I know. I know the one that gives the tank shield. That shield is tank's best in slot shield. Too. It's a pretty significant.
Though I've seen a lot of tanks using the Kel'Thuzad healing shield because it's got more armor than the Saffron shield.
Alright, this should be final. Research.
Final countdown.
Even redemption. That's the best in slot. Plus he get off research. For all heroes.
I believe so. It's a lot of healing for bracers.
It's 20 more for the priests.
It's 20 more for the druids as well.
We have ears, it's probably on this leather break. Is that
Probably for the hip, my guess. They need a hip piece.
something broke still? Their bracers that they
I don't know, it seems like that would be just as good for rogues. D-Wops? Or another rogue?
Euler.
Sounds like Leave It Warrior Prio, right?
I don't think we have any rogues in here right now. Nope, Dwarfs is here. Fuck.
Yeah, a lot of people have dropped out.
I'll just make
He loses. I'm just surprised the
note of it.
rogues dropped out because most of them are like
Yeah,
core
Nightblade,
members of the guild.
I message him, hey, instead of unmuting, he sends me back a question mark.
So yeah, here Val is all the gears that we were talking.
Eddie, go okay with the question?
Oh, there he is.
The questions. Do you love?
My girlfriend doesn't love you right now.
I added her name.
Bracers, they were marked Warrior Prio. Wouldn't rogues use those too? They have strength, agility, stamina, and hit.
The bracers of command?
No.
Wait, stop changing it.
It's Raji execution bracers. What's bracers of command?
I was reading something else. Are those better than the tier 2?
Oh, right. Did you get hit one tier 2?
Yeah, you get 23 agility and 1 hit, I think.
Yeah, that's probably why. Because it's like tier 2 is almost as good as these. I don't think there's comparable warrior bracers.
Yeah, they're using like MC bracers.
It's 1 hit, 23 agi. I mean, it's not really a huge upgrade, if any.
Okay, now you all have 2 bracers.
Yeah.
What's the
That last.
Wait, isn't there a boss? Wait a minute, hold on, let me make sure I get that right.
Check.
For all these items, it's pretty much just going to be on a piece-by-piece basis who needs what, because the armaments are relatively common compared to individual item drops, and you get a choice whether or not, or whatever you want, right?
So,
It's
armaments, you got Pugio
and the mace, right?
for caster healer. Yeah, it's
there's 2 different armaments, and it's 3 items for each one. I don't remember which ones go together.
yes. Well, I have it here. The armaments we have as Dagger Rogue, Tank Prio Sets, Pugio plus the shield for those are together. The other one is the casters, and so it must be just 2 stabs.
I think Pugio is really good for warriors too.
Yeah, some of the non-human warriors were talking about trying daggers too, aside from trying axes, so.
Pro, go back a page for me real quick.
The bracer?
Yeah.
We're gonna give out daggers to warriors?
Okay, I got it. No, I got it. It's fine.
Really quiet. And no, like, I don't see us ever giving like dagger to a warrior over a dagger rogue. I don't think that would fit.
No, I just don't know how many dagger rogues we're gonna have, and I'd rather see a dagger going to a warrior that's gonna use it for the raid versus a rogue that's just gonna use it for PvP. You know?
Yeah, people are saying like switching to a dagger just for execute span be pretty solid.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, rogues will get prio if they are a dagger rogue, but again, I don't think we'll have.
But let's just say if we plan on ranking and dagger's just gonna be used for execute, you think they should have prio over someone who's going to be ranking and needs a dagger or wants a dagger real bad?
I mean, by this point in time, you should have all the rank you already need, unless you're still ranking all the way in AQ, huh?
Oh, we're talking about AQ?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, you'll be able to have a Perdition's Blade and Core Houndtooth, no problem, as a rogue, aside from going for swords.
Yeah.
Say that, but
Unless like we see something crazy, I think if it's like, hey, I could use this dagger and I could be 3% better on my warrior, it's like, doesn't really make sense to take it over some use it at all times.
Well, a warrior with the gloves, the +5 dagger. I mean, that's better than swords for a non-human.
H core gloves.
Edge core gloves plus, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
that plus the dagger from AQ is the best.
But if it could be like proven out, not just like it's the best because I heard it.
Okay. I mean, it's the well.
Like on paper, it looks the best.
It is, but obviously we don't know.
Right. But it might still.
None of your private server bullshit.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to, but yeah, anything that basically if you're not human.
But you'll be able to see that real early, like you're trying Julie's dagger. It's like that.
But you're also not switching to a dagger for rage executes. You're not going to be having those gloves on all the time anyway.
Well, that's the thing. If you are going to do the rage execute thing, the problem is if you're a human is you don't have you have to use edge masters, right? Because otherwise you won't have the dagger skill. Edge masters do. They do they do daggers, axes, and swords. Yeah. But obviously then you'll lose you lose the devil sword set if you do that.
That'll be something we figure out. Like if it's part of their like main, if dagger warriors truly are, they aren't just like a gimmick.
No,
talk about it.
I mean, at least on North. I mean, on Northdale, the apes guys. A lot of them are using either both daggers. One of them so they'll have the Edge Core gloves or Edge Masters, whichever. And then if they use Edge Masters, they seem to have a sword in one hand and a dagger in the offhand. And if they use the Edged Core, they have obviously two daggers. And one of them is normally the what's it called, the Viper Sting or something that comes in AQ. Death Sting. Yeah, Death Sting plus the Edge Core gloves. And then I'm not sure, I can't remember what the offhand. Yeah, the offhand is it looks like a. I know what the picture is. I can't remember what it's called though.
I don't really have an issue with it because whether daggers are going to a warrior or a rogue, that's less competition for swords. So
yeah,
anything
that was what I was thinking.
As long as it's for raid, I think that it's fine.
For the Edged Core gloves, I mean, obviously the rogues have the talent, right? Whereas the warriors can't get the talent. And basically, you need the +5 skill for the daggers.
Yeah, but they could just as easily get male ones.
The what? Sorry. Oh, Edge Masters.
Yeah, it's going to be expensive.
Not
but
just as easily, but yeah.
But they could.
Most of the pieces look good. Just change the eye to Warlock then Healer.
Easily, you're meaning like they could farm the gold and buy it in Nosh House reliably, but we might never see the Edge Core gloves drop ever.
It's more like Edge Core leather gloves were to drop in the first raid. Like the rogues wouldn't need them, whereas a warrior could use them.
So I'm being told that no, dagger warriors are not an option. They are a last resort. However, something like Pugio could be a viable offhand. I'm apparently misrepresenting that. Hold on. Relay that comment.
Yeah. Let's roll through the rest seats.
Yeah, nothing's set in stone until the nerds crunch the numbers at 60. We don't 100% know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going off all the apes guys on Northdale, but that's a private server, so yeah.
If you're gonna min-max to that level, don't you want to just be doing speed clears every time you raid? Kind of not what we do.
Well, I mean, it's the thing. You could give them. The thing you can just give the non-human warriors swords, and they can use edge masters, but it takes strain off giving people swords if they're taking daggers. You know, that's kind of. But then they can also just take axes, right? So.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I feel like we're overthinking it.
The plan is for them really to take axes, for daggers. I mean, for daggers to go to rogues that aren't getting swords, and then afterwards, it doesn't really matter who gets it. Like extra daggers or whatever, people can pick up to test with.
Yeah.
But
it was more
the priorities mainly in place
it was
for
more
the
the
first
gloves.
couple or whatever, so that they go to the correct people.
It was more the gloves. It's kind of like the.
I would still give the Corehound gloves to a rogue that's going to stay daggers their entire.
Well, yeah, but I mean, although they have the talent, right? but I guess they can take the talent out.
Yeah,
They would take
well,
both, right?
they take both. They do 310.
How much does the talent give?
You could
5.
also take a
So it'd
point
be
out of the
310
talent and
total.
put it in something else at that point too, right?
How much
Yeah.
weapon skill does the talent give on the rogue?
So 1 point for 3 and 2 points for 5. So they could do one. Yeah, they could
so
do
they just take 1 point
get
plus the
8.
gloves. Yeah, okay.
And I know people. Here's another misconception. I just want to kind of iron out. Like I've seen people say like, "Oh, 308 is a cap, 10 is a cap, 315, 305." Like we aren't gonna know. Like, no, we have formulas from beta, quote unquote, from level 40. We don't know if that translates to level 60.
Look, Blizzard came out. I can link you to 2 different blue
I don't
posts.
believe Blizzard. I didn't know that.
You don't trust Blizzard?
Well, I mean,
so they came out and said
went into the code and basically, so you need 8 as long as you're within, as long as your weapon skill is within 10 levels of the defense of the monster, then you're fine. But if you are not, so basically if you're at 305 and the boss
they said it because I saw that from a guy who crunched beta numbers.
No, Blizzard. I can link you it. It's literally a guy from Blizzard who says, so if you're at 304, you will need an extra hit. You will need 9% hit instead of 8% hit. Whereas if you're at 305, the hit penalty is removed. So whether you're 305 or 314, I mean it helps slightly.
Oh, I remember reading
It helps slightly with your what do when you're white attacking and you what do you call it?
If you could link that.
Glancing blow.
It's more, the weapon skill is more
so
for
beyond
glancing blows
305
than
helps
hit.
slightly with glancing blow melee swings, but the 305 is the most important because that is basically
It's
a
the biggest
hit.
jump.
That's otherwise you need 9% hit instead of 8% hit.
So, I mean, you're going to want more than 9% anyway because you're going to have a 26. Was it like the hit cap's like 26%?
Well, you can't
You're
get
going to
that,
end up
yeah.
having more than that anyway.
Sure.
I think.
Want white damage and.
Yeah, because that affects
but
your
the
white
issue-
damage when
But
you're
the thing
offhand as well.
is once the reason why the 308 number is because once you get to that point, the diminishing return is so like it's like if you're 305.
But my point is like, where does that diminishing returns? Where does that come from? Does Blizzard say diminishing returns?
From Blizzard.
Okay.
Well, it's just like the hunter stuff too.
Let me break it
it's
down for you guys.
8.6 something instead of 9, but everybody goes 9.
Okay, so how it works is at 300 weapon skill, a glancing blow will do 70% damage. At 305 weapon skill, the glancing blow will do 85% damage.
Yeah.
But then at 310, it only does, I think, 95% damage. So
It's 93.
It's not, so no, 310 is 95, whereas 308 I think is like 92 or 93. So like the 2 extra points is only 1 or 2% more of a glancing blow. So like, and then the 310 to 315 is like 5% or something like that. So like it diminishes heavily at like the more hit you get.
Yeah, it's like 0.4. But the reason why the 305 is important because there's like an extra penalty, which is if the monster's defense is more than 10 higher than
the
your
hit
weapon
penalty.
skill, then it just penalizes you with a hit. So as long as you're at 305, it's even from there it's marginal. It's very min maxy from there, but it's a big deal before then.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Expertise.
Regardless, yeah.
Expertise. Okay, I think everything else on this list is pretty much done.
We still have Nax loot.
Yeah, we're not today.
I mean, that's even AQ's like a year out. We don't need to hold people.
Yeah. Are we gonna do Nax before launch or?
I mean,
no.
Can we just do it on a day we're bored?
Yeah,
Like,
save it for a day when we're bored.
Like, we have so much time
Regards to
still.
AQ loot with that hit ring being Warlock priority, there's another hit ring that drops early in Nax that I hadn't ever known about because I didn't look for it. That could be either mage or just equal whoever needs a hit ring still.
Right.
There's also some like spell pin rings. We still need to figure out if spell pin will be good on any fights. It just depends on
So, did you say all of these are like set in stone, or like guidelines and whenever the thing actually drops? Get like say Dwap's just got the good luck and just has this really crappy, ring or something.
Well, I think that should all be a benefactor because, I mean, a big factor because it's supposedly what is best for the raid. So if he's doing everything he's supposed to and he just has shit luck or whatever and he can't get the drop he's getting, if it's still an upgrade for him over someone's min-max 1.2% increase, it's better for the raid.
Right.
Yeah, there's always the option for that. That's just so we can look, alright, well, these are who it's best for. But obviously a lot of pieces could be good for other classes.
Gotcha. Okay. Mike, are you still around? Larry?
Looks like he's gone.
That's alright. He'll be there on Monday. So any other questions or?
Yeah, when is launch?
Yeah. August 26th.
I mean, what time though?
6 p.m. Eastern time.
What game is this?
In 113 hours.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I really didn't know the time.
We need to find a way to play the game that me and Chubbins were playing for Halloween.
Yeah.
Win that game.
That was pretty good. Oh, I got one more thing, but you made everybody leave before I could tell them.
Get Chubbin?
No, that I want to have my lottery.
That's on my list.
I didn't see it on the list, bro.
Wait, what lottery?
Well, every
Once you give gold.
We're gonna put names in a hat, and we're gonna pick
No.
a name, and that person we're gonna murder him.
Basically,
Oh, sweet.
everybody's gonna put in 5 gold as early as they can, and then we'll set a
Oh, I
date.
thought you were making a reference to the short story.
No, we'll set a date and on the stream so everybody can see me pull it out. I'll just pull the name out of it and they get all of the gold.
Oh, hell yeah.
So that's basically gonna pay for somebody's mount pretty early.
I know we've done that before, but we did that in classic, retail
Yeah.
classic. That was always cool.
Pro did it, but he cheated, so I'm gonna do it fair.
Of course.
You're only going to be allowed 1 entry, regardless of how much gold you have. That way everybody has the same chance of winning.
About Malar, who puts 500 gold in.
Yes, I know. No, Malar can't put 500 gold in.
Oh, I can't wait for
not
the first Halloween, but the second Halloween lottery.
Could I theoretically bribe the man who's drawing?
No.
So like, sneak a 500 gold and put 5 gold in.
So we'll start that as soon as people start putting in, and we'll figure out what day we're gonna do it.
That'd be kind of cool. But every now and then I get your mount stuff early.
And it'll also help people that do a lot of farming that don't sell.
Yeah,
stuff
get
that
your
they could.
ugly armored mount.
Yeah, get that ugly. I'm gonna get the Mechano Hog.
I might go for a ram. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like which is the least ugliest armored mount. I can't.
Is there anything
decide.
else we're going over tonight?
Nope, that's gonna do it. Thanks guys for coming. See you Monday or Sunday night.
Good night.
Later.
Bro, I'm looking at my list, and I'm probably not going to come out of 8 of 8 Dragonstone.